The Friend and the Forgotten Promise. The rain fell softly on the cobblestone streets, a gentle rhythm that seemed to echo the quiet ache in Aaron's chest. He stood beneath the faded awning of a small cafe, hands shoved deep into his coat pockets, staring at the letter clutched tightly in his hand. It was old, worn at the edges, and the ink had faded in places, yet every word carried the weight of a promise he had long forgotten. Years had passed since the promise was made. Back then, Aaron and his childhood friend Alara had stood beneath the same sky, hands clasped tightly, pledging that no matter where life took them, they would always be there for each other. Life, however, had a way of twisting paths unexpectedly. Jobs, distance, misunderstandings, they had drifted apart, and the promise had slipped into the quiet corners of memory. Now, holding the letter, Aaron felt the surge of both nostalgia and regret. The words on the page were a bridge to the past, a reminder of the bond he had once held sacred. He had almost let the promise fade completely, lost in the hum of everyday life, but something in him had insisted on returning, on seeking what had been left behind. The cafe door opened, letting in a gust of warm air and the faint smell of freshly baked bread. He stepped inside, finding a quiet corner and setting the letter on the table. Around him, life moved with its ordinary rhythm, the clink of coffee cups, soft conversations, the hiss of the espresso machine. And yet, for Aaron, the world seemed to narrow to the single thread of memory and longing that the letter had pulled taut. He remembered the last time he had seen Alara, the day of their parting, when youthful certainty had collided with the uncertainty of life. They had laughed, yes, but underneath, there had been an unspoken tension, a fear that time and distance would dilute what they shared. That fear had come true, yet now, years later, the forgotten promise beckoned him to act, to reach across time and bridge the gap that life had created. As the rain tapped gently against the window, Aaron felt a resolve harden within him. He would find Alara. He would not let the promise, fragile though it might be, disappear again. The letter contained clues, a hint of the city she had moved to, a subtle detail about a book she loved, a street she once described in passing. It was not a full map, but it was enough to begin the search. He rose from the cafe, letting the letter slip safely into his coat pocket. The streets were slick with rain, reflecting the golden glow of streetlights, and he walked with a steady purpose, each step measured, each breath a commitment to rediscovery. Along the way, he passed faces familiar and unfamiliar, unaware that one of them might hold the key to reconnecting a bond long thought lost. By nightfall, Aaron had reached a small park, one he remembered visiting with Alara during childhood summers. The swings creaked in the wind, and the scent of wet grass filled the air. He closed his eyes for a moment, imagining her laughter, the warmth of her presence, the joy of shared secrets. The promise was alive in his heart, delicate yet unbroken, urging him forward despite the years of separation. Suddenly, a shadow moved beneath a lamppost, and Aaron's heart skipped a beat. Could it be? Could the years truly fold back on themselves in this fleeting moment? He approached cautiously, and there she was, Alara, holding a scarf around her neck, her eyes reflecting the same surprise and recognition that mirrored his own. Time seemed suspended, rain falling softly around them, a quiet witness to the reunion of two souls bound by a promise that had endured despite neglect and distance. The rain had softened into a gentle drizzle as Aaron and Alara stood under the lamppost, the golden light casting a warm glow over their faces. Time seemed to pause, allowing them to take in the moment fully, the reunion after years of silence, the echo of promises once forgotten yet never truly broken. Aaron reached into his coat pocket and carefully produced the letter, handing it to her. Alara's eyes widened as she recognized the familiar handwriting, the faded ink, the words that had once bound them together. "I can't believe you kept this," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "I thought it was lost forever." "I couldn't forget," Aaron said softly. "And I couldn't let the promise fade again. Not after everything." His words hung in the night air, heavy with sincerity and longing. For a long moment, neither spoke, letting the rain, the lamppost, and the quiet park bear witness to the emotions they had held back for so many years. They began to walk, slowly, down the park path, sharing memories from the years apart. Each story, each laugh, each small revelation stitched the frayed edges of their friendship back together. They spoke of childhood adventures, of secrets shared under summer skies, and of the misunderstandings that had pulled them apart. The conversation was tentative at first, careful, yet it carried the weight of honesty and the relief of unburdening years of regret. As they walked, Aaron suggested visiting the cafe where they had spent countless afternoons together as children. The familiar smell of coffee, the creak of the wooden floors, and the soft chatter of patrons welcomed them like old friends. They settled into a corner booth, sharing a warm drink, and let the comfort of the place dissolve the tension that had lingered between them. Elara laughed softly as Aaron recounted a particularly mischievous prank from their childhood, a memory that had somehow remained vivid despite the passage of years. In that laughter, Aaron realized how much they had both missed, the simple, unguarded joy of companionship. It was in these small moments that the true power of their promise revealed itself, reminding them that the bond they shared was not only about words, but about presence, understanding, and shared history. After hours of conversation, the rain outside had ceased entirely, leaving the streets glistening under the soft light of street lamps. They stepped outside together, the city quiet and reflective, a mirror to their own renewed connection. Aaron took a deep breath and spoke, "I don't want to let years slip by again. I want to keep this promise, Elara. I want to be here, truly, for whatever comes." Elara smiled, her eyes glistening. "I want that too. Let's not forget again. No matter where life takes us, we'll remember this moment, this promise." They walked hand in hand, the weight of the past lifted by the sincerity of the present. The promise was no longer a fragment of memory but a living bond, strengthened by the effort to find one another, by the courage to face the silence that had separated them. Each step they took was a reaffirmation. Friendship, trust, and loyalty could endure even when life scattered them across time and space. As night turned to dawn, the city began to stir with the quiet hum of a new day. Aaron and Elara reached a bridge overlooking the river, the water reflecting the first hints of sunlight. They paused, taking in the view, a shared silence speaking more than words ever could. In that moment, they understood that the promise was not a simple agreement. It was a living testament to resilience, to the power of memory, and to the choice to return, to forgive, and to embrace connection. Finally, they parted for the morning, each carrying the warmth of renewed trust and a sense of hope for the future. The forgotten promise had been remembered, restored, and transformed into a bond that neither time nor distance could weaken. And as they went their separate ways, the letter tucked safely in Aaron's pocket, they both felt a quiet certainty. Some promises, no matter how long forgotten, are meant to be kept, cherished, and honored.